Bible simply states, "And Jehovah God went on to form the man out of dust from the ground and to blow into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living person." It is difficult to think of a more logical explanation for this event. According to the laws of physics, it is not possible for non-living substance to become living by itself without any effort, design, or wisdom. This is ensured, for example, by the second law of thermodynamics, according to which everything moves towards disorder until maximum disorder, or a state of balance, is reached. Non-living substance would have had to fight this law of physics for millions of years, successfully and completely unaided. A single cell requires such an awful lot of information, planning, fine-tuning, and harmonious cooperation between its various components that the mechanism of its creation cannot be explained. For some, this is a clear indication that the spirit world must have been involved in the beginning. For some, this is just another fairy tale, and they prefer to believe that non-living substance must have begun to live on its own. Now maybe the question has just come up, "Hey buddy, I think you missed the point. What does this have to do with the spirit world?" Look, these are very complex cellular structures. And on the other hand, it's also about the laws of physics. Entropy has always existed, as long as anything has existed. The accuracy of a single bacterial cell replication process is unimaginable, can only be understood by parable. The Bible has an average of 4 million letters. If a secretary were to copy the Bible with the same accuracy as a bacterial DNA cell, the first error would only occur after 200 copies of the Bible. For comparison, I made a copy of this paper by making a new copy of the previous copy 166 times on my own copier. Now I understand how imperfect a copying device a laser printer scanner is compared to a bacterial cell. This also shows very well how the second law of thermodynamics, entropy, works in practice. Everything in nature moves towards disorder, towards a state of maximum balance. To resist this, there must be protective processes in place to prevent the total destruction of information. But yeah, the real point was that if a laser printer copying system needs a designer and creator, it is not possible that such a precise copying system could be created for a bacterial cell completely without intelligent control. And yet that bacterial cell replication system is only one small part of the whole cell, which is a stunningly complex system. It needs much more to work. Does this give you any food for thought? Or do you think there is still no concrete evidence of the existence of a spirit world? Man has not made cells or their replication systems. Someone else must have created them. What about near-death experiences? These are, of course, only individual experiences, and there is no scientific evidence to back them up, as they are based on personal experience. But certain similarities do occur repeatedly. Often in near-death experiences, people see their whole life as if it were filmed in fast forward. Some people get such convincing proof of the existence of the spirit world from these experiences that they come to believe in God, even if they have been atheists all their lives. One of the most unusual phenomena associated with near-death experiences is that of a person who has been clinically dead for up to several minutes while his heart has stopped. In such a situation, however, the person may have seen himself and others in the same room as if he were an outside observer. When he was then restarted, he was able to describe exactly what happened in the room while he was clinically dead. Could it be possible, therefore, that consciousness has been present somewhere outside the body, perhaps in the spirit world? Can such experiences be taken as evidence for the existence of a spirit world? What about the spirit mediums? Bible reveals clearly that the spirit world exists. The heavens were opened and I began to see visions of God. And in fact, there are two different kinds of spirit worlds. There is a good spirit world, and there is also evil spirit world. It is possible to be connected to both spirit worlds. The Bible is full of instances of people communing with the good spirit world of God. The very first people were connected to it. We are also told of Abraham, Jacob, Joseph, and Daniel, who received messages from the good spirit world of God. Likewise, our Master Jesus Christ and the apostles Peter and John were connected to this good spirit world of God. The connection to good spirit world of God has been evident throughout the history of the Bible. So the question is, why wouldn't it be possible today? The whole world is essentially divided into different religions, and the ultimate aim of all of them is to be connected to this good spirit world of God. Where is this huge ambition coming from? Is it proof that there is an inner capacity, a desire and a possibility to be in contact with the good spirit world of God? Can such a phenomenon be considered any kind of proof of the existence of the spirit world? Now let's hit the brakes and back up to the mediums of the spirit world. But before you jump behind the wheel of your car and drive to the nearest psychic, I want to give you a word of warning. Before you make any rash decisions, you should find out exactly what these issues are. There is a lot of literature available on the subject. Do some in-depth research so you know what you're dealing with. Because it is true that where there is a lot of everything, there is also a lot of bad. Unfortunately, there is also a lot of quackery and deception involved in these things, just as there is in all religions. And it is usually those who have not done enough research who fall for the scams. So always keep a healthy sense of criticism and judgment when looking into these issues. And above all, always seek the help of the good spirit world of God. Johannes 𝙀𝙅𝙏 was a German priest of the Catholic Church. He had to unwittingly find out for himself what this was all about, when one day a man came to him and asked him to come to a mediumship session. In that session, he saw an ordinary young boy who was a so-called transmedium. The boy received messages from the spirit world of God while in a deep trance, and afterwards remembered nothing of those sessions. At first, 𝙀𝙁𝙁 thought he would prove this to be humbug. However, he continued to attend these sessions and wrote down all the information the medium communicated. He engaged in a question-and-answer dialogue with the spirit world of God through the mediumship, because he wanted to get answers to his biblical questions. In the end, on the basis of everything 𝙀𝙁𝙁 saw and experienced during these sessions, and the in-depth information he received from the young boy, he became convinced that it could not be a hoax. In fact, it was revealed to him that the Catholic Church, where he was a priest, was teaching its members wrongly on many issues. Therefore, he was eventually unable to continue in that position and had to resign as a priest. The more the young boy passed on information about God's spirit world, the more convinced Johannes 𝙀𝙁𝙁 became. The boy knew far too much and far too much depth for his age. Johannes 𝙀𝙁𝙁 ended up writing a book about these experiences, called Communication with the Spirit World of God, Its Laws and Purpose. I have already pointed out in my previous videos that correspondence between the Jehovah's Witnesses head office and the Johannes 𝙀𝙁𝙁 Memorial Foundation reveals that the head office has ordered not only this book, but also the New Testament translated by Johannes 𝙀𝙁𝙁. This translation by 𝙀𝙁𝙁 has been used as a source and referred to in Jehovah's Witnesses publications when considering translation solutions for the New World Translation. The organization has done all this in the full knowledge that Johannes 𝙀𝙁𝙁 was a well-known spiritist, and his wife was a medium who assisted 𝙀𝙅𝙏 with the help of the spirit world in translating his New Testament. In his book, John 𝙀𝙀𝙏 gets detailed explanations of the spirit world of God, for example, why the Trinity of God is a false teaching, what the statement of the skeptical Thomas meant, how the verses in Matthew 27 verses 51 and 52 have been falsified, or why the young boy Joshua was in attentive meeting when Moses received messages from God. All of these and many other profound biblical accounts would have been made up by this boy himself, unless he actually got them from the spirit world of God. I myself have read this almost 500-page book very carefully, if only for the theology of Jehovah's Witnesses. One of the most extraordinary things for me, too, was to finally grasp the fact that there is, and always has been, also the good spirit world of God, through which it is possible to gain knowledge. Everything strongly suggests that this is most likely the way information was obtained in the Jehovah's Witnesses headquarters. On the other hand, they strongly warn against having anything to do with such methods. But just in case someone should come into contact with the evil spirit world, they are obliged, as a precaution and to protect their flock, to forbid and demonize any contact with the spirit world. But as for Johannes 𝙀𝙀𝙏's book, Communication with the Spirit World of God, Its Laws and Purpose, the very title of the book clearly indicates what it is about. Just as the laws of physics and nature apply throughout creation, so too do the exact laws of the spirit world. And just how precise they are was a surprise to me when I came across this book. On the other hand, it is perfectly logical when you think that God has created all the laws by which things work in order in nature. Exactly the same laws seem to apply to the spirit world. Next, I will focus on a topic called causality. Often we only see mere phenomena, but we don't seem to understand that those are always the result of something that we don't necessarily see at the moment. All things have a cause and effect relationship. This is a universal law. Take, for example, the global phenomenon of the existence of different religions. Of course, one can lightly ignore the matter without paying much attention to it, and simply say that this is just the way things are, and that's it. But how stupid it is to ignore such a large piece of evidence that there must be a logical reason for this phenomenon. That phenomenon is therefore a consequence of the existence of that cause, and we should see and be interested in that cause, because that cause can often be the very evidence we are looking for. That's why the question, why, is probably the best question of all, because it forces the reason to come up, or at least it forces you to consider the existence of that reason. Therefore, there is always a good reason to use this question. Science usually moves from observed phenomena towards its cause, in other words, the reason. This is called causality. Without a cause of any kind, nothing happens. There is always a cause for phenomena, even if we do not immediately see or understand what the cause of a phenomenon is. This question of cause and effect is essentially a philosophical one, but I would see that in this context we must use every possible means to get to the bottom of this question of the existence of the spirit world. On reflection, you can see causality as a completely universal law, even though it is a philosophical question, so to speak. A ball falls to the ground because there is an invisible cause. If you push a crochet hook into an electrical socket, you get an electric shock. There's an invisible cause for that too. Magnets attract or repel each other because there is an invisible cause. And in the same way, a bacterial cell can do a super precise job of copying because there is an invisible reason for it. Life exists because there is an invisible reason for it. The whole world is full of different religions because there is an invisible reason for it. People have similar near-death experiences because there is an invisible reason. The entropy works because there is an invisible cause, and so forth. There is an invisible cause for all laws and phenomenon in creation. Did you finally get this idea? Or are we going to go on for another hour with this same reasoning? In this video, I have tried my best to gather evidence of the existence of the spirit world. I have presented many phenomena that have unseen, real causes behind them. Those causes are the evidence, even if they are not directly visible. For the vast majority of people, or course, invisible reasons do not count as evidence of any kind. There are certainly reasons for this too. However, in this reflection I come to the pessimistic conclusion that the main reason for rejecting evidence of the existence of the spirit world is man's own laziness and unbelief. People just don't have the patience to stop and think, and make the effort to investigate things thoroughly. We are content to merely wonder at the phenomenon, but do not bother to consider the underlying reasons why these phenomena exist and appear in the first place. It is just as silly as if a scientist were to become completely satisfied just by observing a phenomenon. He discovers that when he lets go of the ball, it falls to the ground. Is he satisfied with simply stating that a phenomenon is happening and is observable? No. Every true scientist wants to know why the ball falls to the ground. And no matter how difficult the question is at the time, he will not give up until he has found out the reason for it. Otherwise, nothing would be achieved, nothing would be discovered, nothing would be learned. And we might as well go on living in caves, thinking that thunder and lightning are the angry words of the gods. Do the things presented in this video resonate with your own thoughts at any level? As this channel is part of the Mind Control Project, please like the video if you think it deserves a like. You can also subscribe to this channel completely free of charge, if you haven't already done so. And if you have already subscribed, a warm thank you for your support. It is also perfectly possible to spread this mind control propaganda by sharing this video with those who don't yet know what they should think about these issues. Thanks for watching, and as always, let's try to hang in there.